But there are some things that, not just relying on specific personnel, specific players. There's some things that coaches can do to, to contain quarterbacks that like to play outside of script, outside the pocket. So we're going to take a look at some strategies here that, defensive coordinators use across the league, and some that you kind of saw on film already. But if you look at what they call flush left here, look at some of the, the pass rush notes here. So if you look at the right end here, you see QB depth. It tells that right end to bull or their best inside move, but right at the quarterback, and don't go any deeper than him. You're going to see the right defensive tackle spike inside and be the middle pusher, kind of like you saw Ed Oliver do. The left defensive tackle is that B gap control, again, kind of like a contained player inside of the tackle, but controlling that B gap. But then that left end he's running a fish hook, so he's basically a run around on the high end. So it's something the Broncos used to do a bunch of with Von Miller, is have a low rusher and then a high rusher to contain Cam Newton in that Super Bowl years ago. It's something that we saw years ago, and that defensive coordinators use. And as I said, you saw Addison and Hughes do that a bunch of times. So he's that fish hook. That left end's that fish hook, and he'll kind of get behind a quarterback. Most people are like, oh, he lost contain. Well, he's actually playing contain for both sides, because whatever side that the quarterback flushes out of, he can go get them here. So we're going to take a look at a couple of those plays, Anthony. Just some pretty cool rush strategies that I found years ago from an old Jim Schwartz playbook, actually, a Bills Jim Schwartz playbook. So this is an ode to him. So this is obviously the Chiefs and Titans, and you're going to see a nice power move from the left defensive end here, and watch the fish hook, the circle rush from Bud Dupree off the right side here in that wide alignment. Again, power move from that defensive end, Danico Autry. Look at the line he takes. He's using power right to the quarterback, right? And what's that going to do? That's going to catch Mahomes' attention, and he's going to want to flush out to his right. And he doesn't realize here comes Bud Dupree on the backside. He's able to rip the ball out there, but unfortunately, the Chiefs are able to recover. So cool little strategy that, the Bills could use. I'm sure they saw it on film here from the Titans.
Yeah, if you're running 4-man rushes, you have to play games, you have to run stunts, and there's so many ways. I love that you pulled up the previous graphic and then have led off with this clip, because there's a lot of ways. I think a lot of people just think of like stunts in games, and they just think like, okay, a defensive tackle is lined up next to a defensive end. One of them goes inside. Yep, there's so much more. It's not just like, okay, this guy spike inside and then the other guy loop around and go. You can bring, we've seen so much in the NFL now. You've got like almost like a slant from the left end all the way through the right defensive tackle, and the right defensive end will loop all the way around the left tackle to come after quarterback. So you've got different games. This is a really good job from Autry, who honestly, he's had such a good year for Tennessee. He was good in Indianapolis. He got away from them. Him, along with Harold Landry and Simmons, have just been problems up front. And then Bud Dupree is starting to get healthy from his injury last year. And you highlighted in there, like, you have good position, you've extended, you've locked out, so that man right in front of Mahomes can go wherever he goes, and then you're getting pressure around the edge. It's a nice way to contain, and it doesn't necessarily look like it, because it just looks like, oh, okay, like a speed rush and a fish hook, and there you go, guy arcs around the edge and it's a sack, but there's still some element of contain there. And that's what you can do with a lot of these games. You can win and confuse the offense or win with scheme and skill, but you can also use them to do that and simultaneously keep that QB locked in the pocket. And, that's the idea of what the Bills are going to have to do.
Yeah, and here's one, again, the Bills they hadn't done too much of this, but they also hadn't played too many scrambling quarterbacks, but very similar concept here. But the Bills use a two-man game off the left edge, and that really presents a soft edge. We always talk about it with Elam. When he sees a soft edge, he likes to take it. Last week he didn't. He stood in there and made those plays. So you got the soft edge presented by the two-man game off the left side between Hughes and Basham, and then watch Addison play it high. He's the high guy here. Boom. Takes him from the backside. That's the type of stuff that I saw in this game, and I'm like, okay, maybe this was them warming up, right? Maybe this is some of the arsenal, some of the tools in the toolbox that Leslie Frazier has that kind of saved for the end of the year. It's just fun stuff, because as you said, more times than not, people think you're just lining up, you're running 2 or 3 man games, and that's it. No, there are specific rules for every player. Every player has a 1/11th, right? They have their own assignment, and it all plays together, especially when it comes to containing an elusive quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. So here's another example, Anthony. This is what they call a poker left. So if we look right to left, we're going to look the right end, sell up field, wrap inside, look for the window, contain opposite. So he's not playing the contain off the right side here. He's going to be the contain off the left side. The right defensive tackle is the B gap control. Left tackle is a spike and middle pusher. and then the left end is running a fish hook and containing the opposite. So I brought a couple of clips that are very similar to that. It's very unique, man, and that's why I labeled it there. It's very unique. It's not something that a lot of teams do, but it's in there. It's in the arsenal with the defensive coordinators, the good ones across the league. So watch Dupree now. So he's in that wide 9 alignment there, but he is the one that it comes across the formation all the way to be that contained player. and this, I said this is unique because it's a 4-man rush. You see them drop out the edge guy that's over Kelsey, and they bring a guy off the edge, a wide guy. But look at the line he takes. Again, he comes inside of the depth of the quarterback. You see Mahomes, but right there. So he presents that soft edge right there, and that makes Mahomes want to, again, escape out the pocket this way, but he doesn't. And again, it's contained with a 4-man rush. It's a Vrabel is, when it comes to this type of stuff, he's really creative as a defensive coordinator here. And using guys like that, I don't know how many times we watch a lot of film, Anthony. You don't see much of this on film from week to week.
No, you really don't. Like, this is like you led off with. It's unique. It's unique to the point of Byron Pringle, number 13 for the Chiefs. He chips Bud Dupree almost as if like it's expected. Like, okay, look how wide he is. Let me chip this guy so that way he can't rush up field. And the expectation, if you're on the offense, is like, again, because it's so unique, you're looking at how Bud Dupree is lined up, and you're looking at this front. You're not thinking, okay, he's probably going to loop all the way around and be contained on the opposite edge.
The wide side of the field, yeah.
That's not a thing. And to be able to execute that, you need speed and athleticism like someone like Bud Dupree. The Bills have that in their edge rushers. Addison can still go. Jerry Hughes can go. Groot covers ground very fast. Epinesa covers ground. You can even play games with Ed Oliver like that. You running these unique fronts, again, I love the idea of, I think people just think of games as very simple stuff, or they think of them as being designed to just get a sack. Yes, that's the ultimate goal, but you can also use them to contain and play mind games with the opponent. And the Bills are going to have to use all of that against a high quality offense like Kansas City. In Tennessee, you've several clips already. I watched that game a lot in detail. The Titans were super creative. They used a lot of simulateds and creepers. They brought different looks. They ran different games like you just showed. They pulled it all out, and as a result, they dominated Kansas City, but they had to pull it all out because of how good Kansas City is. The Bills are going to have to do the same.
Yeah, and you talked about the versatility of guys like Addison, and very similar, play here, again, presented a little differently. So you're going to see off the left side, you're going to see an inside spin move. You're going to power move from Harrison Phillips, and just watch how Addison buzzes across the field to the wide side of the field, just like Dupree did on that last play. So here he is rushing upfield. Now he's wrapping all the way around as Jerry Hughes and Phillips, again, kind of shrink the width of that pocket and present a soft edge. Wilson, 100% wants to escape out the right side here. Hughes recovers, and then you see Addison coming all the way across the field. And then we talked about it. How the Bills love to roll those defensive linemen for most of the year, how they manage the load and reps of guys like Hughes and Addison. Well, tell me that Mario Addison doesn't look fresh this late in the year. Week 18, look at him hustle all the way across the field to push Wilson out there. A really creative rush here. But, this is fine and dandy. Again, rushing 4, keeping 7 back in coverage. But on the back end, Anthony, we haven't talked about it, but we're going to wrap up this portion of the film with some coverage, because on the back end of that play, the coverage run by the Bills is one that we may see in this game. So you see Jordan Poyer and Hyde kind of disguising whether they're dropping into a 1 or 2 high look. But I want you to also pay attention to the other defensive backs, right? I want you to watch Dane Jackson to the bottom. Man coverage. Everyone's manned up. Everyone. Milano, Edmonds, Johnson, Jane Jackson, they're all manned up. Levi Wallace is isolated to the top of the screen, all manned up. You see Poyer drop down into the middle of the field as that rat defender, and you see Micah Hyde. Now, it could have been just a single high look, a cover 1 rat type call, but you see him reading Wilson. Either way, you see Hyde come over the top of that number 1. So giving Dane Jackson a little help. These are the type of, the coverages that the Bills are going to have to run. A lot of 3rd down and long situations this year, the Bills ran a lot of 2-man coverage.
And this is also
one second. But obviously, they can't just do that all the time against the Chiefs because they don't have Trey White. So this type of creativity, not just up front with the 4-man rush and containing mobile quarterbacks and elusive quarterbacks, is needed. But you got to have this type of disguise and this type of help coverage, this type of bracket coverage from, again, they're all pro type safeties on the back end.
And I love that you picked this because, like, right when Mario Addison is starting to wrap, Wilson can either escape, or if he's looking to that bottom receiver at the screen, maybe he's like, all right, cool, I got one-on-one coverage, let me throw it up. But he can't because he sees Micah Hyde flash. This is a really good example of what we talked about earlier, the symbiotic relationship of coverage and pass rush. So if you are horrible in coverage and guys are open right away, oh, that's an awesome comment. Love Film Room University. If you're giving up, space right away and receivers have separation, quarterbacks can get rid of the ball right away. They need to have to second guess because of the coverage you have on the back end to allow the pass rush to get there. And this is a play, again, where it works in tandem. The game the Bills play on the back end allows the game up front to work. And one other thing I wanted to point out, Ed Oliver gets put into the ground on this play, like early in the rep, and he gets up and hustles his butt off to continue to drive pressure. This is another example. Whoever commented earlier, this Bills defense is coached to be disciplined and play hard. That's an example of it. Playing disciplined and playing hard. I got put down to the ground. And instead of just being like, well, whatever, play's probably over. Nope. He gets right back up, gets right back into the play because of what's going on. And because of what's going on, he's able to influence that play. And again, team defense, everybody doing their 111th, coverage working with pass rush working with coverage. We have to see this against Kansas City. And this is why, Eric, you pulled these clips, because it cannot just be the Bills aren't going to succeed on defense because of one person or one unit or one group. It is a 1000% collective effort. Everything works together. And that play right there was a great example of how pass rush and coverage can work together in tandem.